Hello, everyone. And for those of you who don't know me, I'm Chief Judge Troy Nunley. I'm the Chief of the Eastern District Court here in California, which covers from up north, Redding, all the way down through Bakersfield. And we cover about 8.5 million people. We have about 34, well, we actually have 34 or 58 counties here in the state of California. So with that being said, on behalf of our judges, our entire court family, welcome to the Eastern District of California Constitution Day. It is an honor to welcome you all here for Constitution Day. And I just want to remind you that this was the brainchild of Chief Judge Emeritus Kim Mueller, who started Constitution Day. And it is a very important day. And her vision was to bring not only attorneys, judges, and people who work in law, but her vision was to bring the community together to speak and give life to the words of the Constitution. And so today, as we celebrate the 238th anniversary of the original signing of the United States Constitution, I am delighted to see not only judges, I see judges all the time, so I'm not really delighted to see them, okay? All right. But I'm delighted to see judges, attorneys, and members of the community, distinguished members of the community here today. But also, and most importantly, at least in my estimation, we see a lot of students here, a lot of young people here. And I think that's important because it's you who in the future, you're going to guide our country. And you are going to be the leaders in our democracy for years ahead. And I say that in no small measure because you never really know where you might end up. And I always have this notion, my mom used to always tell me that you are where you're meant to be. And some of you just don't know that, but you're meant to be here today. And some of the words that you hear today in the Constitution, some of the words you hear some of the speakers say, it may resonate with you. And that's irrespective of your, economic level, your social standing or anything. I'm a kid who grew up in the projects. I grew up in the projects. I was poor growing up, and look at me now. I'm now, well, I don't know what I am, but we'll figure it out. All right. Just a brief word about our Constitution. Our Constitution does serve as the bedrock of our society here in America. It guarantees many of our fundamental freedoms and establishes the independence of our judiciary. This day is a day to celebrate our democracy, reflect on our rights and our responsibilities, and recommit to upholding the fundamental freedoms enshrined in our Constitution. And never forget, and this is especially relevant, and it should be relevant for you young people, don't forget that the Constitution is more than words on a page. The Constitution really was meant to guide our actions as citizens of this republic. And that's the purpose of the Constitution. And the Constitution, to a large extent, it doesn't, the words don't change, but the people do, but the sentiments expressed in the Constitution are important for each generation as we come up and as we go through these stress points in society, as our judges try to figure out the cases that we try to figure out as the appellate courts, as they wind up in the Supreme Court, and we still are trying to figure it out, and that's it. And so I urge each of you in reading the Constitution to listen very carefully to the words of the Constitution, reflect in particular on our rights and responsibility that document guarantees to all of us. I'm going to be very brief in my comments so we can get going. We have a large assemblage here, so we got a bunch of folks who want to read. So, but I would be remiss if I didn't mention those involved in the planning of the celebration. And the court, obviously, the clerk's office, as well as the Sacramento chapter of the Federal Bar Association, Operation Protect and Defend, the Ninth Circuit Branch Library. In fact, we have a representative here today from the Ninth Circuit. Thank you for coming. We appreciate it. McGeorge Law School. And lastly, I want to thank the judges as well. And I think that's about, oh, wait a minute, it's the judges clerks, okay? The judges clerks really organized all of this and really they put it together. They gave me my, my marching orders, told me what to do, gave me my speech and told me what to say. So it's our clerks. Thank you very much, clerks. We appreciate you. And lastly, at the conclusion, if you like, we will serve refreshments in the Kennedy Learning Center. So you're welcome to stop by the Kennedy Learning Center here to my right. So without further ado, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce the McClatchy High School Color Guard, and also a jewel of our court, and she's absolutely fantastic, and she's been called into service at the last minute, but Karen Kirksey will also sing the national anthem. And while the color guard is coming in, please be quiet while the color guard is coming in. All right. You want to turn on the mic?
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleam, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the rampart we were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets the bombs bursting in air through the night, that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Karen, I want to thank you very much. You know, actually we had another singer who was supposed to sing today, and I actually called Karen up. I think what about 30 minutes ago to ask her to sing. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. I owe you big time. All right. Without now that we've heard that tremendous performance, we're now going to hear from our court reporter, Yolanda Portel Riley, the court's chief interpreter, and she's going to share the different languages that you're going to hear today. Where's Yolanda? Come on. Sure. Oh,
I am sure. Good afternoon. So we will now begin the reading of the Constitution. We will have the preamble done by Grand High School. After that, every article and amendment will be read in English. Some of the articles and amendments will be read in several languages. The languages that we are going to be hearing today is French, Spanish, Korean, Turkish, Gujarati, Italian, Arabic, Hmong, Hindi. And this is to illustrate that we are a nation of immigrants. And this is the cultural and rich diversity of our court family. Those who are reading in other than Spanish, please specify which language you'll be reading before you begin reading. And make sure that you are really close to the mic so everybody can hear it. And please keep your conversations at a minimum because there's such echo that would make it difficult for everyone to hear whoever's speaking at the mic. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Yolanda. Now it's my privilege to introduce members of the Grant High School's Criminal Justice Academy, who will start off by reading the preamble to the Constitution. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Today, we are representing Grant Union High School's Criminal Justice Magnet Academy, and we are going to be reciting the Constitution of the United States of America preamble. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. Do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. Thank you.
Article 1, Section 1. I will be reading in French. Article 1, Section 1. Tous les pouvoirs législatifs accordés par le présent acte seront attribués à un congrès des États-Unis qui se composera d'un Sénat et d'une Chambre des représentants. Section 2. Section 2. La Chambre des représentants se composera de membres choisis tous les 2 ans par le peuple des différents États et dans chaque État, les électeurs devront posséder les qualifications requises pour être électeurs à l'Assemblée la plus nombreuse de législature de l'État. Nul ne pourra être représentant à moins d'être âgé de 25 ans, d'être depuis 7 ans, citoyen des États-Unis et d'habiter, au moment de son élection, l'État dans lequel il sera élu.
Representatives and direct taxes shall be apportioned among the several states which may be included within this union, according to their respective numbers, which shall be determined by adding to the
whole number of free persons, including those bound to service for a term of years, and excluding Indians not taxed, 3/5 of all other persons. This infamous 3/5 clause in the Constitution was eliminated in 1868 by the 14th Amendment.
I will be reading in Spanish. La enumeración real se efectuará en el curso de los 3 años siguientes a la primera reunión del Congreso de los Estados Unidos y después en cada periodo subsiguiente de 10 años en la forma en que aquel lo dispusiere por ley. No habrá más de un representante por cada 30,000 habitantes, pero cada estado tendrá por lo menos un representante. En tanto se realizará la enumeración, el estado de Nuevo Hampshire tendrá derecho a elegir 3 representantes, Massachusetts 8, Rhode Island y las plantaciones de Providence 1, Connecticut 5, Nueva York 6, Nueva Jersey 4, Pennsylvania 8, Delaware 1, Maryland 6, Virginia 10, Carolina del Norte 5, Carolina del Sur 5 y Georgia 3. Cuando ocurran vacantes en la representación de cualquier estado, la autoridad ejecutiva de este emitirá mandamientos de elección para cubrir tales vacantes. La Cámara de Representantes elegirá a su presidente y a otros funcionarios, y solo ella tendrá la facultad de iniciar procedimientos de juicio político.
Article 1, Section 3.
The Senate of the United States shall be composed of 2 senators from each state, chosen by the legislature thereof for 6 years, and each senator shall have 1 vote.
Immediately after, they shall be assembled in consequence of the first election. They shall be divided as equally as may be into 3 classes. The seats of the senators of the first class shall be vacated at the expiration of the second year, of the second class at the expiration of the 4th year, and of the third class at the expiration of the 6th year, so that 1/3 may be chosen every second year. And if vacancies happen by resignation or otherwise during the recess of the legislature of any state, the executive thereof may make temporary appointments until the next meeting of legislature, which shall then fill such vacancies.
The 17th Amendment, adopted in 1913, changed a section of the Constitution to permit the direct election of U.S. senators.
No person shall be a senator who shall not have attained to the age of 30 years and been 9 years a citizen of the United States, and who shall not, when elected, be an inhabitant of that state for which he shall be chosen.
The Vice President of the United States shall be President of the Senate, but shall have no vote, unless they be equally divided. The Senate shall choose their other officers, and also a President pro tempore, in the absence of the Vice President, or when he shall exercise the office of President of the United States.
The Senate shall have the sole power to try all impeachments. When sitting for that purpose, they shall be on oath or affirmation. When the President of the United States is tried, the Chief Justice shall preside, and no person shall be convicted without the concurrence of 2/3 of the members present. Judgment in cases of impeachment shall not extend further than to removal from office and disqualification to hold and enjoy any office of honor, trust, or profit under the United States. But the party convicted shall nevertheless be liable and subject to indictment, trial, judgment, and punishment according to law.
The times, places, and manner of holding elections for senators and representatives shall be prescribed in each state by the legislature thereof. But the Congress may at any time by law make or alter such regulations, except as to the places of choosing senators. The Congress shall assemble at least once in every year, and such meeting shall be on the first Monday in December, unless they shall by law appoint a different day. The 20th Amendment, adopted in 1933, changed the date on which Congress convenes to January 3rd.
Article 1, Section 5.
Each house shall be the judge of the elections, returns, and qualifications of its own members, and a majority of each shall constitute a quorum to do business, but a smaller number may adjourn from day to day, and may be authorized to compel the attendance of absent members in such manner and under such penalties as each house may provide.
Each house may determine the rules of its proceedings, punish its members for disorderly behavior, and with the concurrence of 2/3, expel a member.
Each house shall keep a journal of its proceedings and from time to time publish the same, excepting such parts as may in their judgment require secrecy. And the yeas and nays of the members of either house on any question shall, at the desire of 1/5 of those present, be entered on the journal.
Neither house during the session of Congress shall, without the consent of the other, adjourn for more than 3 days, nor to any other place than that in which the two houses shall be sitting.
Article 1, Section 6. The senator and representative shall receive a compensation for their services to be ascertained by law and paid out of the Treasury of the United States. They shall be in all cases except treason, felony, and breach of the peace, be privileged from arrest during the attendance at the session of their respective houses, and in going to and returning from the same, and for any speech or debate in either house, they shall not be questioned in any other place.
No senator or representative shall during the time for which he was elected be appointed to any civil office under the authority of the United States which shall have been created, or the emoluments whereof shall have been increased during such time, and no person holding any office under the United States shall be a member of either house during his continuing stint in office.
Article 1, Section 7. All bills for raising revenues shall originate in the House of Representatives, but the Senate may propose or concur with amendments as on other bills.
Every bill which shall have passed the House of Representatives and Senate shall, before it become a law, be presented to the President of the United States. If he approves, he shall sign it, but if not, he shall return it, with his objections to that House in which it shall have originated, who shall enter the objections at large on their journal and proceed to reconsider it.
If after such reconsiderations 2/3 of the House shall agree to pass the bill, it shall be sent together with objections to the House by which it shall likewise be reconsidered, and if approved by 2/3 of the House, it shall become law.
But in all such cases, the votes of both houses shall be determined by yeas and nays, and the names of the persons voting for and against the bill shall be entered on the journal of each house respectively. If any bill shall not be returned by the president within 10 days, Sundays excepted, after it had been presented to him, the same shall be a law, in like manner as if he had signed it, unless the Congress by their adjournment prevent its return, in which case it shall not be a law.
Every order, resolution, or vote to which the concurrence of the Senate and House of Representatives may be necessary, except on a question of adjournment, shall be presented to the President of the United States, and before the same shall take effect, shall be approved by him, or being disapproved by him, shall be repassed by 2/3 of the Senate and House of Representatives according to the rules and limitations prescribed in the case of a bill.
Article 1, Section 8, the Congress shall have power to lay and collect taxes, duties, imposts, and excise, to pay the debts and provide for the common defense and general welfare of the United States. But all duties, imposts, and excise shall be uniform throughout the United States. To borrow money on the credit of the United States, to regulate commerce with foreign nations and among the several states and with the Indian tribes, to establish a uniform rule of naturalization and uniform laws on the subject of bankruptcies throughout the United States.
To coin money, regulate the value thereof and of foreign coin, and fix the standard of rates and measures. To provide for the punishment of counterfeiting the securities and current coin of the United States.
To establish post offices and post roads, to promote the progress of science and useful arts, by securing for limited times to authors and inventors the exclusive right to their respective writings and discoveries, to constitute tribunals inferior to the Supreme Court.
To define and punish piracies and felonies committed on the high seas and offenses against the law of nations, to declare war and grant letters of marque and reprisal, and make rules concerning captures on land and water.
To raise and support armies for no appropriation of money to that use shall be for a longer term than 2 years. To provide and maintain a navy, to make rules for the government and regulation of the land and the naval force.
To provide for calling forth the militia to execute the laws of the Union, suppress insurrections, and repeal invasions. To provide for organizing, arming, and disciplining the militia, and for governing such part of them as may be employed in the service of the United States, reserving to the states respectively the appointment of the officers and the authority of training the militia according to the discipline prescribed by Congress.
I'll be reading in Spanish. Para legislar la forma exclusiva todas las materias en un distrito con una superficie máxima de 100 millas cuadradas, cedido por algunos estados y aprobado por el Congreso, que pasará a ser la sede del gobierno de los Estados Unidos, y para ejercer la misma autoridad sobre todos los terrenos adquiridos con el consentimiento de la Asamblea Legislativa del Estado en el que se hallan, para la construcción de fuertes, almacenes, arsenales, astilleros y otros edificios necesarios, y para promulgar todas las leyes que sean necesarias y adecuadas a fin de llevar a efecto a las potestades mencionadas y todas las demás potestades conferidas por la presente Constitución al gobierno de los Estados Unidos o a cualquiera de sus departamentos o funcionarios.
Article 1, Section 9. The migration or importation of such persons as any of the states now existing shall think proper to admit, shall not be prohibited by the Congress prior to the year 1808, but a tax or duty may be imposed on such importation, not exceeding $10 for each person.
The use of the phrase such persons refers to enslaved people forcibly brought to America from Africa to labor in the building of the United States. When the Constitution was written in 1787, importation of slaves was permitted into the United States for 20 more years. Beginning January 1st, 1808, the importation of slaves in the transatlantic slave trade was outlawed by Congress. although slavery was not outlawed for 57 more years.
The privilege of the writ of habeas corpus shall not be suspended unless when in cases of rebellion or invasion, the public safety may require it. No bill of attainder or ex post facto law shall be passed. No capitation or other direct tax shall be laid unless in proportion to the census or enumeration herein before directed to be taken. 16th Amendment adopted in 1913 changed this clause of the Constitution to permit the federal income tax.
No tax or duty shall be laid on articles exported from any state. No preference shall be given by any regulation of commerce or revenue to the ports of one state over those of another, nor shall vessels bound to or from one state be obliged to enter, clear, or pay duties in another.
No money shall be drawn from the treasury but in consequence of appropriations made by law, and a regular statement and account of the receipts and expenditures of all public money shall be published from time to time. No title of nobility shall be granted by the United States, and no person holding any office of profit or trust under them shall, without the consent of Congress, except any present emolument, office or title of any kind whatever from any king, prince, or foreign state.
Article 1, Section 10. No state shall enter into any treaty, alliance, or confederation, grant letters of marque and reprisal, coin money, emit bills of credit, make anything but gold and silver coin a tender in payment of debts, pass any bill of attainder, ex post facto law, or law impairing the obligation of contract, or grant any title of nobility.
No state shall, without the consent of the Congress, lay any imposts or duties on imports or exports, except what may be absolutely necessary for executing its inspection laws, and the net produce of all duties and imposts laid by any state on imports or exports shall be for the use of the Treasury of the United States, and all such laws shall be subject to the revision and control of the Congress.
No state, without the consent of Congress, lay any duty of tonnage, keep troops or ships of war in time of peace, enter into any agreement or compact with another state or with a foreign power, or engage in war unless actually invaded or in such imminent danger as will not admit of delay.
Article 2, Section 1. The executive power shall be vested in the President of the United States of America. He shall hold his office during the term of 4 years, and together with the Vice President chosen for the same term be elected as follows.
Each state shall appoint, in such manner as the legislature thereof may direct, a number of electors equal to the whole number of senators and representatives to which the state may be entitled in the Congress. But no senator or representative or person holding an office of trust or profit under the United States shall be appointed an elector.
The electors shall meet in the respective states and vote by ballot for 2 persons, of whom one at least shall not be an inhabitant of the same state with themselves. And they shall make a list of all the persons voted for and the number of votes for each, which list they shall sign and certify and transmit sealed to the seat of the government of the United States, directed towards the president of the Senate. The president of the Senate shall, in the presence of the Senate and House of Representatives, open all the certificates, and the votes shall then be counted.
The person having the greatest number of votes shall be the president, if such number be a majority of the whole number of electors appointed. And if there be more than one who have such majority and have an equal number of votes, then the House of Representatives shall immediately choose by ballot one of them for president. And if no person have a majority, then from the 5 highest on the list, the said House shall in like manner choose the president.
But in choosing the president, votes shall be taken by states, the representation from each state having one vote. A quorum for this purpose shall consist of a member or members from 2/3 of the states, and a majority of all the states shall be necessary to a choice. In every case, after the choice of the president, the person having the greatest number of votes of the electors shall be the vice president. But if there should remain 2 or more who have equal votes, the Senate shall choose from them by ballot the vice president. The 12th Amendment, adopted in 1804, changed the way the vice president and president are chosen.
The Congress may determine the time of choosing the electors and the day on which they shall give their votes, which day shall be the same throughout the United States.
No person except a natural-born citizen or a citizen of the United States at the time of the adoption of this Constitution shall be eligible to the office of president. Neither shall any person be eligible to that office who shall not have attained to the age of 35 years and been 14 years a resident within the United States.
In case of the removal of the president from office, or of his death, resignation, or inability to discharge the powers and duties of the said office, the same shall devolve on the vice president, and the Congress may by law provide for the case of removal, death, resignation, or inability, both of the president and vice president, declaring what officers shall then act as president, and such officers shall act accordingly until the disability be removed or a president shall be elected. The 25th Amendment, adopted in 1967, altered the method of presidential succession described in this clause.
The president shall at stated times receive for his services a compensation, which shall neither be increased nor diminished during the period for which he shall have been elected. He shall not receive within that period any other emolument from the United States or any of them.
Before he enter on the execution of his office, he shall take the following oath or affirmation. I do solemnly swear or affirm that I will faithfully execute the office of the President of the United States and will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States.
Article 2, Section 2. The President shall be Commander-in-Chief of the Army and Navy of the United States and of the militia of the several states. When called into the actual service of the United States, he may require the opinion in writing of the principal officer in each of the executive departments upon any subject relating to the duties of their respective offices, and he shall have power to grant reprieves and pardons for offenses against the United States, except in cases of impeachment.
He shall have power by and with the advice and consent of the Senate to make treaties, provided 2/3 of the senators present concur, and he shall nominate, and by and with the advice and consent of the Senate shall appoint ambassadors, other public ministers and consuls, judges of the Supreme Court, and all other officers of the United States whose appointments are not herein otherwise provided for, and which shall be established by law.
But the Congress may by law vest the appointment of such inferior officers as they think proper, in the President alone, in the courts of law, or in the heads of departments. The President shall have power to fill up all vacancies that may happen during the recess of the Senate by granting commissions, which shall expire at the end of their next session.
He shall from time to time give to the Congress information of the state of the Union and recommend to their consideration such measures as he shall judge necessary and expedient. He may, on extraordinary occasions, convene both houses or either of them, and in case of disagreement between them with respect to the time of adjournment, he may adjourn them to such time as he shall think proper. He shall receive ambassadors and other public ministers, He shall take care that the laws be faithfully executed and shall commission all the officers of the United States.
I'll be reading Article 2, Section 4, Korean. 제2조 4절 대통령, 부통령, 그리고 미국의 모든 문관은 반역죄, 수뢰죄 또는 그 밖의 중대한 범죄 및 경범죄로 탄핵받고 유죄 판결을 받음으로써 면직된다.
Article 3, Section 1. The judicial power of the United States shall be vested in one Supreme Court, and in such inferior courts as the Congress may, from time to time, ordain and establish. The judges, both of the Supreme and inferior courts, shall hold their offices during good behavior and shall, at stated times, receive for their services a compensation which shall not be diminished during their continuance in office.
Article 3, Section 2. The judicial power shall extend to all cases in law and equity arising under this Constitution, the laws of the United States and treaties made or which shall be made under their authority, to all cases affecting ambassadors, other public ministers and councils, to all cases of admiralty and maritime jurisdiction, to controversies to which the United States shall be a party.
To controversies between two or more states, between a state and citizens of another state, between citizens of different states, between citizens of the same state claiming lands under grants of different states, and between a state or the citizens thereof and foreign states, citizens or subjects. The 11th Amendment, adopted in 1795, changed this section of the Constitution to protect states against lawsuits in federal courts by citizens of other states or a foreign nation.
In all cases affecting ambassadors, other public ministers and consuls, and those in which a state shall be party, the Supreme Court shall have original jurisdiction. In all the other cases before mentioned, the Supreme Court shall have appellate jurisdiction, both as to law and fact, with such exceptions and under such regulations as the Congress shall make. The trial of all crimes, except in cases of impeachment, shall be by jury, and such trials shall be held in the state where the said crime shall have been committed. But when not committed with any state, the trial shall be at such a place or places as the Congress may by law have directed.
Article 3, Section 3. Treason against the United States shall consist only in levying war against them, or in adhering to their enemies, giving them aid and comfort. No person shall be convicted of treason unless on the testimony of two witnesses to the same overt act or on confession in open court. The Congress shall have the power to declare the punishment of treason, but no attainder of treason shall work corruption of blood or forfeiture except during the life of the person attainted.
Article 4, Section 1 will be read in Turkish. Her ayalet, dijer ayaleterlerin kamu kanulanlarnia, kayıtlarına ve adli işlemlerin tam güven ve itibar gösterir ki, kangel kanularla bu kanuların kayıtların ve işlemlerin nasıl kanıtlanacağını ve bunların ekistini belirler.
Article 4, Section 2. The citizens of each state shall be entitled to all privileges and immunities of citizens in the several states. A person charged in any state with treason, felony, or other crime, who shall flee from justice and be found in another state, shall, on demand of the executive authority of the state from which he fled, be delivered up to be removed to the state having jurisdiction of the crime.
No person of the service or labor in one state, under the laws thereof, escaping to another, shall, in consequence of any law or regulation therein, be discharged from such service or labor, but shall be delivered up on claim of the party to whom such service or labor may be due. The 13th Amendment abolished slavery in 1865, eliminated the fugitive slave law from Article 4 of the Constitution.
Article 4, Section 3 in Gujarati. આ કાયદા મુજબ કોંગ્રેસ સંઘમાં નવા રાજ્યોને દાખલ કરી શકે છે, પરંતુ કોઈ પણ બીજા રાજ્યોની હદમાં કોઈ નવું રાજ્ય બનાવી શકાશે નહીં. તેમજ બે કે વધુ રાજ્યોને અથવા રાજ્યોના ભાગોને જોડીને કોઈ નવું રાજ્ય બનાવી શકાશે નહીં. સિવાય કે સંબંધિત રાજ્યોની વિધાનસભાઓ અને કોંગ્રેસ બંનેની સંમતિ મળે.
The Congress shall have power to dispose of and make all needful rules and regulations respecting the territory or other property belonging to the United States. Nothing in this Constitution shall be construed as to prejudice any claims of the United States or any particular state.
Article 4, Section 4 will be read in Italian. Gli Stati Uniti garantiranno a ogni Stato di questa Unione una forma di governo repubblicana e proteggeranno ciascuno di essi contro l'invasione. E su richiesta del legislatore o dell'esecutivo, quando il legislatore non può essere convocato, contro la violenza domestica.
Article 5, the Congress, whenever 2/3 of both houses shall deem it necessary, shall propose amendments to this Constitution, or on the application of the legislatures, 2/3 of the several states, shall call a convention for proposing amendments, which in either case shall be valid to all intents and purposes as part of this Constitution when ratified by the legislatures of 3/4 of the several states.
Or by conventions in 3/4 thereof, as the one or the other mode of ratification may be proposed by the Congress, provided that no amendment which may be made prior to the year 1808 shall in any manner affect the first and fourth clauses in the 9th section of the first article, and that no state without its consent shall be deprived of its equal suffrage in the Senate.
Article 6. All debts contracted and engagements entered into before the adoption of this Constitution shall be as valid against the United States under this Constitution as under the Confederation.
This Constitution and the laws of the United States which shall be made in pursuance thereof, and all treaties made or which shall be made under the authority of the United States, shall be the supreme law of the land, and the judges in every state shall be found and bound thereby. Anything in the Constitution or laws of any state to contrary notwithstanding.
The senators and representatives before mentioned and the members of the several state legislatures and all executive and judicial officers, both of the United States and of the several states, shall be bound by oath or affirmation to support this Constitution, but no religious test shall ever be required as qualification to any office or public trust under the United States.
Article 7. The ratification of the conventions of 9 states shall be sufficient for the establishment of this Constitution between the states so ratifying the same. Done in convention by the unanimous consent of the states present the 17th day of September in the year of our Lord 1787, and of the independence of the United States of America, the 12th, in witness whereof we have hereunto subscribed our names. George Washington, President and Deputy from Virginia.
New Hampshire, John Langdon, Nicholas Gilman. Massachusetts, Nathaniel Gorman, Rufus King. Connecticut, William Samuel Johnson, Roger Sherman. New York, Alexander Hamilton. New Jersey, William Livingston, David Brearley, William Patterson, Jonathan Dayton.
Pennsylvania, Benjamin Franklin, Thomas Mifflin, Robert Morris, George Clymer, Thomas Fitzsimmons, Jared Ingersoll, James Wilson, Governor Morris.
Delaware, George Reed, Gunning Bedford Jr., John Dickinson, Richard Bassett, and Jacob Broom.
From Maryland, James McHenry, Daniel St. Thomas Jennifer, Daniel Carroll, John Virginia, John Blair, James Madison Jr. From North Carolina, William Blunt, Richard Dobbs Spate, Hugh Williamson.
South Carolina, John Rutledge, Charles Cotesworth Pinckney, Charles Pinckney, Pierce Butler. Georgia, William Few, Abraham Baldwin.
Attest, William Jackson, Secretary.
And another preamble, the preamble to the Bill of Rights. Congress of the United States, begun and held at the city of New York on Wednesday, the 4th of March, 1789. The conventions of a number of the states, having at the time of their adopting the Constitution, expressed the desire, in order to prevent misconstruction or abuse of its powers, that further declaratory and restrictive clauses should be added. And as extending the ground of public confidence in the government will best ensure the beneficent ends of its institution. It's the right thing.
Resolved by the Senate and House of Representatives of the United States of America and Congress assembled, 2/3 of both houses concurring, that the following articles be proposed to the legislature of the several states as amendments to the Constitution of the United States, all or any of which articles, when ratified by 3/4 of the state legislatures, to be valid to all intents and purposes as part of the said Constitution. Articles in addition to and amendment of the Constitution of the United States of America, proposed by Congress and ratified by the legislatures of the several states, pursuant to the 5th article of the original Constitution. These amendments were ratified December 15th, 1791, and form what is now known as the Bill of Rights. Amendment 1. Congress shall make no laws respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or of the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for redress of grievances. Amendment 2. a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed.
No soldier shall, in time of peace, be quartered in any house without the consent of the owner, nor in time of war, but in a manner to be prescribed by law.
Amendment 4.
The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall issue, but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, in particularly describing the place to be searched, and the persons or things to be seized.
This is the Fifth Amendment in Arabic. لا يجاوز اعتقل أي شخص لاستجوابه بشأن جنائية أو جريمة شأن أخرى إلا إتباع لصدور قرار اتهامي أو مضابطة اتهام عن خيار مخالفية كبرى باستثناء القضية الخلاصة في قوات البحرية وبحرية وفي ميليشيا عندما تكون هذا القوات في خدمة الفعالية وقت الحرب أو الخطر الأمن، ولا يجاوز اتهام أي شخص بنفس الجرم مرتين فاعتقال حياة أو عدا بدنه إلى الخطر، كما لا يجاوز إكراه أي شخص في أي دعوى جنائية على أن يكون شهد ضد نفسه، ولا أن يحرم من الحياة وحرية أو ممتلكات دون إتباع الإجرامية القانونية الأصولية، كما لا يجاوز نزع أي ملكة خاصة للاستخدام إمها في سبيل منافع العام بدون تعويض العدل.
Amendment 6. In all criminal prosecutions, the accused shall enjoy the right to a speedy and public trial by an impartial jury of the state and district wherein the crime shall have been committed, which district shall have been previously ascertained by law, and to be informed of the nature and cause of the accusation, to be confronted with the witnesses against him, to have compulsory process for obtaining witnesses in his favor, and to have the assistance of counsel for his defense.
Amendment 7. In suits at common law, where the value in controversy shall exceed $20, the right of trial by jury shall be preserved, and no fact tried by a jury shall be otherwise re-examined in any court of the United States than according to the rules of the common law.
Amendment 8. I will be reading in law. Chifu got Johnny and Thumbtail, Loshi. Chifu got Ting Luan Thumbtail, Loshi Chifu or Pei Pian, or the guide of the Dozy.
Amendment 9. I will be reading in Hindi. संविधान में कतिपय आधा करो की करना के यह अर्थ नहीं लेकिन जाया कि वे लोगन द्वारा दरहित अन्य आधा करो को न करती है या उन्हें नीचा दिखाती है.
Reader 69. Amendment 10.
The powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively, or to the people.
Amendment 11, passed by Congress March 4th, 1794, ratified February 7th, 1795. The judicial power of the United States shall not be construed to extend to any suit in law or equity commenced or prosecuted against one of the United States by citizens of another state or by citizens or subjects of any foreign state. Note, Article 3, Section 2 of the Constitution was modified by Amendment 11.
Amendment 12. A portion of Article 2, Section 1 of the Constitution was superseded by the 12th Amendment. The electors shall meet in their respective states and vote by ballot for president and vice president, one of whom at least shall not be an inhabitant of the same state with themselves. They shall name in their ballots the person who voted for as president, and in distinct ballots, the person voted for as president, vice president, and they shall make distinct lists of all persons voted for as president and all persons voted for as vice president, and the number of votes for each, which lists they shall sign and certify and transmit sealed to the seat of the government of the United States, directed to the President of the Senate.
The President of the Senate shall, in the presence of the Senate and the House of Representatives, open all the certificates, and the votes shall then be counted. The person having the greatest number of votes for president shall be the president. If such number be a majority of the whole number of electors appointed, and if no person have such majority, then from the persons having the highest numbers not exceeding 3 on the list of those voted for as president, the House of Representatives shall choose immediately by ballot the president.
But in choosing the president, the votes shall be taken by states. The representation from each state having 1 vote. A quorum for this purpose shall consist of a member or members from 2/3 of the states, and a majority of all the states shall be necessary to a choice.
And if the House of Representatives shall not choose a president whenever the right of choice shall devolve upon them before the 4th day of March next following, then the vice president shall act as president, as in case of the death or other constitutional disability of the president. This clause in Amendment 12 was superseded by Section 3 of the 20th Amendment in 1933.
The person having the greatest number of votes as vice president shall be the vice president, if such number be a majority of the whole number of electors appointed, and if no person having a majority, then from the 2 highest numbers on the list, the Senate shall choose the vice president. A quorum for the purpose shall consist of 2/3 of the whole number of senators, and a majority of the whole number shall be necessary to a choice. But no person constitutionally ineligible to the office of president shall be eligible to that of vice president of the United States.
Amendment 13, passed by Congress January 31st, 1865, ratified December 6, 1865. A portion of Article 4, Section 2 of the Constitution was superseded by the 13th Amendment. Section 1. Neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as punishment for a crime whereof the party shall have been duly convicted, shall exist within the United States or any place subject to their jurisdiction. Section 2. Congress shall have power to enforce this article by appropriate legislation.
Amendment 14, passed by Congress June 13, 1866, ratified July 9, 1868. Section 1. All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws. Note, Article 1, Section 2 of the Constitution was modified by Section 2 of the 14th Amendment. Amendment 14, Section 2. Representatives shall be apportioned among the several states according to the respective numbers, counting the whole number of persons in each state, excluding Indians not taxed.
But when the right to vote at any election for the choice of electors for president and vice president of the United States, representatives in Congress, the executive and judicial officers of a state, or the members of the legislature thereof, is denied to any of the male inhabitants of such state, being 21 years of age and citizens of the United States, or in any way abridged, except for participation in rebellion or other crime, the basis of representation therein shall be reduced in the proportion which the number of such male citizens shall bear to the whole number of the male citizens 21 years of age in such state. The 19th Amendment in 1920 nullified the restriction of voting only to male citizens. The 26th Amendment in 1971 lowered the voting age to 18.
Amendment 14, Section 3. No person shall be a senator or representative in Congress or elector of president and vice president, or hold any office, civil or military, under the United States or under any state who, having previously taken an oath as a member of Congress or as an officer of the United States or as a member of any state legislature or as an executive or judicial officer of any state, to support the Constitution of the United States shall have engaged in insurrection or rebellion against the same, or given aid or comfort to the enemies thereof. But Congress may, by a vote of 2/3 of each house, remove such disability.
Amendment 14, Section 4. The validity of the public debt of the United States authorized by law, including debts incurred for payment of pensions and bounties for services in suppressing insurrection or rebellion, shall not be questioned. But neither the United States nor any state shall assume or pay any debt or obligation incurred in aid of insurrection or rebellion against the United States, or any claim for the loss or emancipation of any slave. But all such debts, obligations, and claims shall be held illegal and void. Section 5. The Congress shall have the power to enforce, by appropriate legislation, the provisions of this article.
Amendment 15, Sections 1 and 2, passed by Congress February 26, 1869, ratified February 3, 1870. I will be reading in Spanish. Sección 1. Ni los Estados Unidos ni ninguno de los estados denegará o limitará el derecho de los ciudadanos de los Estados Unidos al sufragio por motivo de raza, color o anterior condición de servidumbre. Sección 2. El Congreso tendrá patria potestad para hacer cumplir la presente enmienda mediante la legislación apropiada.
Amendment 16, passed by Congress July 2nd, 1909, ratified February 3rd, 1913. Note, Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution was modified by the 16th Amendment. The Congress shall have the power to lay and collect taxes on incomes from whatever source derived, without apportionment among the several states and without regard to any census or enumeration.
Amendment 17, passed by Congress May 13, 1912, ratified April 8, 1913. Note, Article 1, Section 3 of the Constitution was modified by the 17th Amendment. The Senate of the United States shall be composed of 2 senators from each state, elected by the people thereof for 6 years, and each senator shall have 1 vote. The electors in each state shall have the qualifications requisite for electors of the most numerous branch of the state legislatures.
When vacancies happen in the representation of any state in the Senate, the executive authority of such state shall issue writs of election to fill such vacancies, provided that the legislature of any state may empower the executive thereof to make temporary appointments until the people fill the vacancies by election as the legislature may direct. This amendment shall not be so construed as to affect the election or term of any senator chosen before it becomes valid as part of the Constitution.
Amendment 18, passed by Congress December 18th, 1917, ratified January 16th, 1919, repealed by Amendment 21, Section 1. After 1 year from the ratification of this article, the manufacture, sale, or transportation of intoxicating liquors within, the importation thereof into, or the exportation thereof from the United States, and all territories subject to the jurisdiction thereof for beverages purposes is hereby prohibited.
Section 2. The Congress and the several states shall have concurrent power to enforce this article by appropriate legislation. Section 3. This article shall be inoperative unless it shall have been ratified as an amendment to the Constitution by the legislatures of the several states as provided in the Constitution within 7 years from the date of the submission hereof to the states by the Congress.
Amendment 19, passed by Congress June 4th, 1919, ratified August 18th, 1920. I will be reading in Spanish. El derecho de los ciudadanos de los Estados Unidos al sufragio no podrá ser denegado o coartado a causa del sexo, ni por los Estados Unidos ni por ningún otro estado. El Congreso tendrá facultades para hacer cumplir las disposiciones de este artículo por medio de la legislación apropiada.
Amendment 20, passed by Congress March 2nd, 1932, ratified January 23rd, 1933. Section 1. The terms of the President and the Vice President shall end at noon on the 20th day of January, and the terms of senators and representatives at noon on the 3rd day of January, of the years in which such terms would have ended if this article had not been ratified, and the terms of their successors shall begin.
Amendment 20, Section 2. The Congress shall assemble at least once in every year, and such meeting shall begin at noon on the 3rd day of January, unless they shall by law appoint a different day. Article 1, Section 4 of the Constitution was modified by Section 2 of the 20th Amendment.
Amendment 20, Section 3. Note, a portion of the 12th Amendment was superseded by Section 3 of Amendment 20. If at the time fixed for the beginning of the term of the president-elect shall have died, the vice president-elect shall become president. If a president shall not have been chosen before the time fixed for the beginning of his term, or if the president-elect shall have failed to qualify, then the vice president-elect shall act as president until a president shall have qualified.
And the Congress may by law provide for the case wherein neither a president-elect nor a vice president shall have qualified, declaring who shall then act as president, or the manner in which one who is to act shall be selected, and such person shall act accordingly until a president or vice president shall have qualified.
Amendment 20, Section 4. The Congress may by law provide for the case of the death of any of the persons from whom the House of Representatives may choose a president whenever the right of choice shall have devolved upon them. And for the case of the death of any of the persons from whom the Senate may choose a vice president, whenever the right of choice shall have devolved upon them.
Amendment 20, Section 5. Sections 1 and 2 shall take effect on the 15th day of October following the ratification of this article. Section 6. This article shall be inoperative unless it shall have been ratified as an amendment to the Constitution by the legislatures of 3/4 of the several states within 7 years from the date of its submission.
Amendment 21, passed by Congress February 20, 1933, ratified December 5, 1933. Section 1, the 18th article of amendment to the Constitution of the United States is hereby repealed. Section 2, the transportation or importation into any state, territory, or possession of the United States for delivery or use therein of intoxicating liquors in violation of laws thereof is hereby prohibited.
Amendment 21, Section 3. This article shall be inoperative unless it shall have been ratified as an amendment to the Constitution by conventions in the several states, as provided in the Constitution within 7 years from the date of the submission hereof to the states by the Congress.
Amendment 22, passed by Congress March 21st, 1947, and ratified February 27th, 1951. Section 1. No person shall be elected to the office of the President more than twice, and no person who has held the office of President or acted as President for more than 2 years of a term to which some other person was elected President shall be elected to the office of President more than once.
But this article shall not apply to any person holding the office of President when this article was proposed by Congress, and shall not prevent any person who may be holding the office of President or acting as President during the term within which this article becomes operative from holding the office of President or acting as President during the remainder of the term.
Section 2. This article shall be inoperative unless it shall have been ratified as an amendment to the Constitution by the legislatures of 3/4 of the several states within 7 years from the date of its submission to the states by Congress.
Amendment 23, passed by Congress June 16th, 1960, ratified March 29th, 1961. The district constituting the seat of government of the United States shall appoint in such manner as Congress may direct a number of electors of President and Vice President equal to the whole number of senators and representatives in Congress to which the district would be entitled if it were a state, but in no event more than the least populous state.
They shall be in addition to those appointed by the states, but they shall be considered for the purposes of the election of president and vice president to be electors appointed by a state, and they shall meet in the district and perform such duties as provided by the 12th article of amendment. Amendment 23, Section 2. The Congress shall have power to enforce this article by appropriate legislation.
Amendment 24, passed by Congress August 27, 1962, ratified January 23rd, 1964. Section 1. The right of citizens of the United States to vote in any primary or other election for president or vice president, for electors for president or vice president, or for senator or representative in Congress shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or any state by reason of failure to pay poll tax or other tax. Section 2. The Congress shall have power to enforce this article by appropriate legislation.
Amendment 25, passed by Congress July 6, 1965, ratified February 10, 1967. Note, Article 2, Section 1 of the Constitution was modified by the 25th Amendment. Section 1. In case of the removal of the President from office, or of his death, or resignation, the Vice President shall become President. Section 2. Whenever there is a vacancy in the office of the Vice President, the President shall nominate a Vice President who shall take office upon confirmation by majority vote of both houses of Congress.
Amendment 25, Section 3. Whenever the President transmits to the President pro tempore of the Senate and the Speaker of the House of Representatives his written declaration that he is unable to discharge the powers and duties of his office, and until he transmits to them a written declaration to the contrary, such powers and duties shall be discharged by the Vice President as acting President. Amendment 25, Section 4. Whenever the Vice President and a majority of either the principal officers of the executive departments or of such other body as Congress may by law provide, transmit to the President pro tempore of the Senate and the Speaker of the House of Representatives their written declaration that the President is unable to discharge the powers and duties of his office, the Vice President shall immediately assume the powers and duties of the office as acting President.
Reader 106. Thereafter, when the President transmits to the President pro tempore of the Senate and the Speaker of the House Representative his written declaration that no inability exists, he shall resume the powers and duties of his office unless the Vice President and the majority of either the principal officers of the executive department or of such other body of Congress, body as Congress may by law provide, transmit within 4 days to the President pro tempore of the Senate and the Speaker of the House of Representatives their written declaration that the President is unable to discharge the powers and duties of his office. Thereupon, Congress shall decide the issue, assembling within 48 hours for that purpose, if not in session.
If the Congress, within 21 days after receipt of the latter written declaration, or if Congress is not in session within 21 days after Congress is required to assemble, determines by 2/3 vote of both houses that the President is unable to discharge the powers and duties of his office, the Vice President shall continue to discharge the same as acting President. Otherwise, the President shall resume the powers and duties of his office.
Amendment 26, passed by Congress March 23rd, 1971, ratified July 1st, 1971. Note, Amendment 14, Section 2 of the Constitution was modified by Section 1 of the 26th Amendment. Amendment 26, Section 1. The right of citizens of the United States who are 18 years of age or older to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on account of age. Section 2. The Congress shall have power to enforce this article by appropriate legislation.
Amendment 27, originally proposed September 25th, 1789, ratified May 7th, 1992. No law varying the compensation for the services of the senators and representatives shall take effect until an election of representatives shall have intervened. Thank you very much. And this ends 2025 Constitution Day. Thank you very much, Jeff.